All right, well, welcome back to another episode for Unmuted, where real voices get loud. And today, it's only the two of us here hosting, but we've got an amazing guest showing up here. Mr. Michael Silvers is away partying with his birthday, for his wife, for her birthday. And today we decided to give him a bit of a hall pass. So it's just the two of us, myself and my co-host Sandy Grigsby showing up. How are you, Sandy?
I'm fabulous here in Bangkok.
In Bangkok. Yeah, well, I'm down here in Tasmania today. I am got planned some travel coming up next month, and I know you do too, Sandy. But
Yes.
Jen, we've got an amazing guest here, so let's just dive straight in. We've got the famous Jennie Lopez. You know, the kid from the block. No, not really. It's the real Jennie Lopez, and she's an amazing co-host with all of our Los Angeles Tribune events, and just an amazing partner with what I've been doing in those events as well. And Jennie, you've written a book or two with the Intentional Unicorn. I just love to get started with this conversation, and the best place I find to start is to get people to give them opportunity to share a little bit about themselves and their stories. So Jennie, over to you. I'm sure you've got some quirky sayings around having a famous name like Jennie Lopez, but
It's so
I,
funny because you said about loud voices, and all I'm thinking is now the other JLo song, Let's Get Loud, Let's Get Loud. That's the only
I
thing I
love it.
have right now in my head.
We'll have to have that as the backup song for this
That's
podcast.
right.
And isn't JLo from Puerto Rico?
Yeah, she's Puerto Rican, which means that she was born and raised Puerto Rican, but in New York. So yes, I'm actually Puerto Rican as well. I'm glad that you noticed that, and I actually moved to the U.S. back to do my master's degree. So I've been now. It's so weird. The same amount of time that I was in Puerto Rico, the same amount of time I'm in the United States. So, but Puerto Rico will always be home. Yes, Jeff. So you wanted me to talk a little bit about the journey, and the reason it's intentional unicorn is not that I'm infatuated with unicorns. So you will have no idea how many people just give me unicorns thinking that I just love them. It's more of a metaphor. It's more of a metaphor because I always thought that I was that unicorn sticking out for the wrong reasons because I had two careers. One of them was a chemical engineer that grew up in corporate America, being an executive leader for one of the Fortune Global 500 companies. And then the other one was a professional dancer. So it's
Amazing.
two different worlds, right? But I was always like either too bubbly for an engineer, too nerdy for a dancer. I never fit the mold, right? And the more I tried to fit the mold, the worse it got. And I have many funny stories about how I even tried to work on my accent, on what I was wearing, so I could look like an engineer. And then I said, you know what? Let's channel all of that energy into be the best, authentic, intentional version of you. And that's when everything started to click in my career, in my business, in my life, in everything. And that's really what I love to empower people to be authentic, to be intentional so they can have the impact that they're meant to have.
I love it.
That is so cool. It's what I tell my clients the same thing. Stop trying to be what people expect
I
because they
know.
expect you as the engineer to be nerdy and to be this and that.
Yes.
No, be who you are because when you try to fit the mold of what other people think, it never works. It's like when I started
Mm,
doing photography, it was the same thing. I would show up in a way that I thought other people expected me to be. I wore all black. I had it
Yes.
all professional. My hair was tied up, all professional. I mean, I looked so serious. And finally, one lady came up to me and she goes, "You're not what I had expected."
Hmm.
You look very professional. It's not what I expected. I was like, seriously? Because my personality didn't match the way that I was dressing and showing up. When I shifted it,
And
my business
mm,
blew up.
that's powerful
Sandy,
right there.
it's so funny because my first performance review, you are not gonna believe it. I got all these things about, oh, she's doing so well, da da da, for her first year. And then one thing that I needed to improve is that I needed to dress like an engineer. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, do I need like a calculator and like glasses and like a pocket? What do I do? And then I started to do exactly what you did. I changed all of my wardrobe to black, white, and gray. And then my mom came to visit me from Puerto Rico, and then she was doing like a little tour of my little apartment. She opened the closet and she said, Nena, ¿qué te pasó? Parece que vas para un funeral, which it means like, what happened to you? It looks like you're going to a funeral.
I was
Because I
just gonna
just
say,
like, I got rid all of the colors because I said, well, maybe I need to dress like an engineer, whatever that meant. Anyway, that didn't last that long. But anyway. I
Isn't
totally
isn't
can
it
relate
funny
to
that
that.
expectations. Like I heard Gary
Yeah.
Vaynerchuk say something about this about the other day. He's the happiest he's been in his life because he got rid of all expectations.
Yeah.
Yes.
And isn't it funny how expectations create this self-made prison for us,
Well, think about
Yes.
relationships,
right?
Mm-hmm.
right? People go in expecting one thing. I had years ago a friend, and she wanted to date this guy so badly that she actually changed even her political beliefs.
Oh my gosh.
Mm,
That didn't go so well.
No, no. And the thing is that whenever you are yourself, you're authentic, right? Obviously, be intentional because I think we sometimes, at least society takes it to the other extreme. I'm going to be me, like it or not. And honestly, that doesn't do any service to
yeah,
anybody.
it's a fake and make it.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but whenever you are yourself, is there's a level of freedom. You're not competing with anybody, right? You're your unique self. You have your own superpowers to show to the world, and there's a level of confidence that also goes up, which is incredible.
Mm. Do you think that's a maturity thing? Like it's something that we all have to mature through, grow through? Because like I know back through my early 20s and all that, I was trying to perform to meet my what I self-imposed father's expectations on my life. And yeah, well, hang on, we got balloons
You
going off.
got balloons and all that.
Woo!
It's a
Celebrating!
party, yeah.
Woo!
Um,
Let's go!
that's a squirrel moment for sure.
Nothing's working for me.
Where was I going with that? So that was a really deep and meaningful moment. Now I've lost my train of thought. No, but what I
Totally.
was saying
Everyone's
is,
like, squirrel!
The maturity piece,
yeah, the
yes.
maturity, right? So it's something we've got to
Yeah.
grow through and almost fail forward through because the moment that I know that I left those expectations behind, like not being attached to the way other people saw me or the way other people thought about me, there's so much freedom in that space. And
Yes.
from what I've read from your book, you've gone through something similar in that process. But do you think it's a maturity thing? Do you think it's something we all have to grow through?
That is a beautiful question. Honestly, my experience, I didn't know any better. Like at the beginning, I was just being me. That's how I operate
Right?
at my best. But I think there is a combination, perhaps of maturity, but also lack of representation. Because when
Mm,
I got into the corporate world, like everybody who was successful, and for the people who are not seeing the video and these beautiful faces here, the three of us, I'm putting quotation marks, but like what success looks like I didn't see anybody like me, right? That thought like me, that led like me, that looked like me. And honestly, that created so much doubt because I said, oh, goodness. So the formula is that I need to be like them if I want to be successful. And then when
mm.
I cracked this code, I said, you know what? I don't have a role model right now, but what if I'm the role model, right,
Go
for
be
the
the role
future
model. I love that.
generations? And I think that's been like a powerful thing that I always bring to everybody. If you want to go to something difficult, you have to like anchor to a deeper why, because it was not easy.
100%.
But that why helped me really embrace this authenticity because it was not about me anymore. It was about being a role model. I'm not meaning about being perfect, nobody it is, but just unlocking the possibility that, hey, you can be a bubbly engineer that happens to dance. You can be successful. You can be a mom. You can be incredible in corporate and navigate that journey. Be the first. Be the pioneer. Why not?
It's really powerful what you just said because think of all of the people that fold themselves into the expectation mold. So what
Mm-hmm.
they expect and what others expect, and then they make themselves that. And they're
Mm-hmm.
so miserable,
Yes. Yes.
right? I know so
Yeah.
many doctors that behave professional like
Mm-hmm.
doctors, and their lives are miserable. They're lonely, they're
Yeah.
depressed, they've got so many things going on that they don't want. And I've seen this time and time and time, people in the corporate space, even
Yeah.
billionaires, because billionaires will fold themselves into what others expect, and then they're miserable too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sandy, think about it. It's like you're draining energy because you're putting all of that focus and energy into almost like you're an actress or an actor pretending to be this persona, right? That other people wants you to be, instead of putting all of that energy into the problem that you want to solve, right? Or the client you want to serve, the people you want to empower, etc. And you're just leaking energy by doing so. And yes, it is
Mm,
exhausting, and that's whenever you are in total burnout, because burnout is not doing a lot of things. It's just whenever you're not in alignment. And if you are not
yeah.
in congruence with yourself, you are in disalignment. You're leaking energy. You're in burnout.
Yeah, you're forcing it, right? And so
Yeah.
I love this whole conversation. Essentially, it's to embrace being a square plug in a round hole. And so, for our listeners who are resonating and relating to this conversation right now, what are some of the tips that you can give them to go through that process?
Yeah. And the number one is just having at least a direction of where you want to go, right? Because otherwise it's very tempting to be just completely lost in your journey. And then the second thing, as I mentioned, is having that anchor, that deep why. Why is this important? It has to be more than you. And for me, that helped me write that book that you see there that we talked about before. That helped me do many pivotal career changes. And that helped me leave corporate to solely just being on my mission in this world, which is unleashing unicorns out there so they can also live a life in alignment and go and build these big dreams. But if you don't have that anchor, it's just going to be about you, and it's going to be so easy to quit, right? When things get difficult. When it's not
Yep.
about you, you're going to do the difficult thing to make it happen. So then, because it's not about the thing at the end of the day, or the thing that you achieve, it's about the person you become. And whenever you become bigger, you have more impact, et cetera, et cetera. And honestly, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone because it's a really lonely place. So be with your tribe, with a peer, with a community that is supportive. You become the average of the 5 people, right? We have heard that many times that you surround yourself with. Make sure that you are not alone in this journey. So connect to those people that are going to inject that gasolina, that fuel into your journey.
To make sure you go
Okay.
find other unicorns to put the sparkle into the conversation, right?
Jeff, Jeff, did you notice how gasoline became much cuter when she said it? The
I know,
gasolina.
right?
I'm only
Gasolina.
saying gasolina from now on. I'm never saying gasolina. It's gasolina.
Gasolina.
Especially with the conversation at the moment around gasoline.
Gosh, yes.
Exactly. Did you put gasolina in your car today? Yes, it was very expensive.
Very expensive gasolina.
My gasolina is
I got a 14-year-old son at the moment, and he keeps coming home, and he's been putting on these different accents and impersonating, like really owning his character. And I love this conversation, right? Because it's about character formation and identity formation. And he's coming in home, and then he's just coming out of his shell. And he walked in the door coming home from school the other day, and he's put on like this little German boy accent, but it was a little gay German boy. It was like, "Ja, squid." It's like, where did that come from? But he's sort of like, oh, I know, I'll get down and crack up and give a bit of a laugh. But he's becoming a bit of the class clown, and he likes to make people laugh.
Oh my
my
gosh,
gosh,
that's
that's so
funny.
funny.
That's so funny. I'm terrible with accents, Jeff. And talking about accents, that's something, for people who are watching there and they're a little bit self-conscious about their accent. Own it because that's your superpower. And like, believe it or not, when I put stuff in LinkedIn, once in a while I get my, the famous direct messages. Hey, if you work on your English, you could be so much more influential and effective in communicating, right? And this is what I sell, English classes, whatever.
Yep. Always.
And at the beginning, that put a little bit of doubt, but at the end of the day, it's not about perfection. It's about the impact that you want to have on people. And when I hear accents, I don't know about your son, right? But when I hear accents, for me, that means, more experience, different context,
Mm,
another culture, another, viewpoint on things. It's just such a much richer experience.
Okay, I
it
have a
is.
whole thing on accents. So my mom is from Switzerland. So she has a
Okay.
Swiss German accent. And she moved to the United States when I was a 1-year-old. So for over 40
Oh,
years, she still has an accent, even though she swears she doesn't, but she does. And she ended up using it to her superpower because she would go in, she worked for corporate. She actually worked for Apple Computer for 35 years, if you can imagine
nice.
that. And she got her way so easy because while everyone else was like, for example, she worked with Steve Jobs. Steve, we really need you to speak to the ambassador of blah, blah, blah. And Steve would be like, no. My mom would go, oh, Steve, let me tell you something. This man is charming and he would really love it for speaking with you. And Steve would be like, yes, May, anything you need. So her accent worked like charms, gangbusters, everything she got. So I'm saying
I
if you
love it.
got one, all you have to do is take yourself and put yourself in a community where they love that accent and milk it for what it's worth.
Well, why
I
do you think
know,
I'm
and
here? You know,
honestly,
Michael wanted the Aussie accent, so that's why I'm here. But
it
see, everybody
works.
says I got an accent, but it's like, hang on, no, I don't. You do. You know, we were driving through from America through Alabama on our trip just recently, and we pulled up to a Waffle House in Alabama, and you know they've got this real Southern drawl going on, and it's like my wife and I are just sitting here listening to all the conversations going on and saying to each other, we could listen to this accent all day long. And then they come over and they said, we can hear your Aussie accent. Can we have a conversation with you? We just love your accent. I'm going, what accent? You're the one with the accent.
That's funny. That is so funny.
So
But you
true.
know what? I know that we're taking it lightly, but like people with accent, like me, right? That speak a second language like that, it takes a while to get over. I remember. You guys remember the show Modern
Mm,
Family? Right? Modern
yes.
Family,
Yep.
maybe. Okay. And there's like Sofia Vergara, which is the Colombiana woman, right? And in one episode, I'm watching it with my husband, and she says, people just don't understand. I sound so much smarter in Spanish. And then my husband is like, ha ha ha, ha, right? And I'm crying, crying. And then I don't cry. So he's like, OMG, what's happening here? Like, he's freaking
Hit a
out.
chord.
And I actually, that's exactly how I felt for many years,
Yeah,
right?
wow.
Because you get the little micro things from people or the looks, the body language. So, hey,
Mm.
now I own it and I use it as my superpower, like Sandy said, and Sandy's mom. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing to have that accent.
So I just love this whole conversation because what it really highlights is that whole owning it, right? You know, and
Hmm.
just embracing it and that type of thing. But you've had to go through a process of your own doubts and, you know, the hurts really of the challenging of it all, right?
Yes.
So how did you, you know, for our audience especially, and I'd love to just unpack this. How did you go through that and, you know, come out to be the beautiful, bubbly person that you are now, owning and embracing? But what did that journey look like? How did you come through it and learn those lessons?
Yeah, honestly, it takes a lot of people in social media, they just see the highlights and they're like, oh, lucky
Mm,
her, lucky him, like everything is
right.
perfect. And it took, I remember, like one of those down times where I was, you go your peaks and your valleys. So in one of those valleys, I was just completely out of control. Like I didn't feel I had control on my journey. I was in corporate and people wanted me to behave a certain way. They were telling me my leadership style, it needed to change, even though it was effective. But it just looked, I have people planned out saying, Jenny, you're just different. We don't know what to do with you. Right. So when you hear those comments on and on,
Wow.
you're like, you know what? There must be something wrong with me. And I felt that my journey was at hands of other people and I lost my bubbliness because again I was trying to be that person they wanted me to be, and because somebody told me I didn't look smart, so I needed to work on my first impression. I mean, like when I tell you I could write a book, that's why inspired me to write that book, Intentional Unicorn. But I remember I thought I was keeping it all together very well, and then I was at home, and my husband is like, "Are you okay?" And then I say, "Oh yes, I'm fine." Like I don't know, as a woman, you want to make sure that you're put together and you're under control,
Brave face on.
and yeah, and then he looked at me like he was just like penetrating through my soul, right? And he said, "No, seriously, are you okay? Because you don't have the sparkle you had when I met you." And you don't even talk about work. It's like you are a different person. So I'm glad he said that. I lost it. I'm crying, right? And I realized, wow, if he can tell, I'm sure my kids can tell. My kids were really young at that point, and I said, enough is enough. Uh, there's no price on this. I'm going to invest in myself. So Jeff, to your point, that was my valley, right? No valley, yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
ups and valleys, yeah. My
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
point, and I said, I'm going to just own it. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to bet on myself. And I'm going to just invest so much on my development, on my personal development, on everything. And that really took a beautiful journey. Still in corporate through a lot of, I mean, I became this person that you see here. And I don't say became, I had it inside of me, it just kind of died. And then I
Mm.
resuscitated that person again.
But it took someone to stop and say, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, are you okay,
Yes.
really?"
Yes.
Someone close
Yes.
to you, someone intimate to you. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, and again, back to it's not about you, it's about the impact. And I automatically said, if he can see that, my kids are seeing a version of their mom that is totally apagada, which it means it's not light up, right? It's totally like a zombie, which is how I was those days. And I didn't want them to grow up with a mom like that. And I said, you know what? No, they're gonna grow up with a Latina, with fierce, the fierce
Well
woman that
done.
she was, the one that is creating her own journey, the one that is unlocking possibilities. And they're the reason why I completely made the jump out of corporate after 23 years of career. Everybody will tell you, I hate corporate. That's why I left. I left my favorite job, my favorite team, my favorite boss. I absolutely love my job, but my mission, it was at another different level. So I went for impact.
Yeah, and you just had to step on the gasolina.
Más
Go ahead,
gasolina.
Sandy.
Dame más gasolina.
Oh, that's brilliant. Mm.
Great. I love it. I love it.
Everybody's
I love
like,
that.
where do I go from
No,
here?
it's, no,
No, that was like the
it's an amazing
perfect
story.
ending,
It's
I would
rich.
say, Jeff.
Yeah, like it's such a rich story, and I love to end on this conversation on that note. You know, like knowing what you know now, especially for our audience, is going through something similar. What's one
Mhm.
final word of wisdom that you'd love to leave them with?
Yes, I always say back to my magic formula. Authenticity plus intentionality equals impact, right? And don't
Mm,
go for the big trophy at the end or the big number of followers or the revenue or the promotion because that celebration will last 5 hot seconds. Do like just go live your journey in milestones and do it because of the person you become every time you achieve a new milestone.
love that. So let's go out there and be intentional and be authentic along the way.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, Jenny, thank you very much for showing up and being today's guest. If anybody wants to grab your book, where can they find it? We'll make sure the links are in the show notes. Where can they find your
Absolutely, in
book?
Amazon. They can find it in Amazon, Intentional Unicorn, and you can also find me in social media under the same name, Intentional Unicorn.
Brilliant.
So much
And
fun. I'm
Sandy,
gonna go get it.
love it. And Sandy, do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, Jenny, you've been so much fun. You, like I said, like the gasolina, which is my new word now. And it's been so much fun having you here. I'm excited. You got me
Thank
Yes.
excited.
you. Thank you for having
You've
me.
brought some fresh energy to the conversation. I love it. So thank you.
And I have to
And
say, I absolutely love that top you're wearing. It's fire.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. In my mind, it's already summer. Like I'm manifesting summer already.
manifesting, I love it. Beautiful. Well, for our audience, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you go do. You can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the usual channels. And make sure that you share this message out because this is a really important one, especially to unleash that, that unicorn with inside. And let's go and embrace being a square plug in a round hole. So to my beautiful co-host Sandy and to Michael Silvers, who's off partying, we really appreciate you all listening here and tuning in. And to our beautiful guest, Jennie Lopez, thank you very much for bringing some of that fresh Latina energy to this conversation. I really appreciate you. And for our
Thank
listeners,
you.
bye for now.
Bye.
Adios.